Sam Bishop, good to be with you again. Boy, I sure enjoyed our conversations over the last series of interactions around balancing the tension of leadership across the pond, my friend in the UK. So Sam, former university athlete, grew up through the athletic ranks, have advanced studies in human dynamics. Talk to us a little bit about your approach to leadership development and get us up to speed a little bit about what prepped you for all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andy. It's great to be with you again. Looking forward to our time today. So my background is very much within psychology and psychotherapy. So you're right, going back to my sporting days, played a lot of sport as an adolescent, played a lot of rugby, and then made that transition then away from being in sport, partly because I knew I was never going to become a professional at it. My colleagues were. I had many teammates that were very successful, so I must respect them. They were much better than I were, Andy. But still enjoyed the sporting spaces and still knew that when I was growing up in that adolescent sort of what do I want to do with my life? What career do I want to be in? Just always very much found people really fascinating. Always found people fascinating. So when I was playing rugby at university, alongside playing rugby on a regular basis, I was also studying in psychology. And that was purely, again, because I just wanted to learn more about the mind, how the brain works. I was fascinated to learn things, Andy, as in why human beings can go through the same experiences, but maybe view them in a different way, feel about them in a different way, or generate different perspectives. So I did a general degree, a BSc in psychology. And then at the end of that degree, decided then I wanted to specialize in psychotherapy. So I went on and did a 4-year master's program. So I was at university for 7 years. And then that was very much my background and my space. That's, I suppose, my foundation is understanding people from those two lenses. One, very cognitive, the brain's processes, the other psychotherapy and very relational. That opened up an opportunity to work with professional athletes, which is what I've been doing now for a decade. And that ranges across a variety of different sports over here in the UK and also some of the athletes I've supported with are around the world, from predominantly professional football, rugby, cricket and golf, to name just a few. And then a few years ago, I had the privilege and the opportunity to take what I learned in that sporting space of working with elite athletes who are under high levels of pressure to either elevate their performance levels or maintain their performance levels. Got the opportunity to take that into the boardrooms and work with business leaders and senior executives and leadership teams. And so when I think about balancing the tensions of leadership, I think about the work that I do and probably the two different lenses that I take, or the two different ways I get brought into organizations over here in the UK. The first one would be to very much work on a one-to-one, almost executive coaching or performance psychology coaching basis, where I'll be working, Andy, with somebody very senior. It may be the senior leader, the C-suite. It could be GM, for example, that sort of level. And it's very much that confidential one-on-one space where I'm talking to them about their mindset, their emotions, their behaviors, to get them being the very best version of themselves that they can be in that leadership role, and balancing all of maybe the challenges that come along with being a leader at that level.
And so this would be like individual coaching engagement, coaching appointments with them, face-to-face or virtual, where you'd be meeting one-on-one with them monthly or every couple of weeks, something like that?
That's exactly it. And addressing specifically identified challenges or issues that they may be facing, more often than not on an internal basis. So things they know are happening in their mindset, things that maybe are happening with maybe their balance of pressure, stress, or overwhelm because of a promotional progression that they've got, or a development within the business that maybe has affected their capability. One phrase that I use, Andy, with my clients is that sometimes they recognize they've become disconnected from their power pack. So the power pack of energy, force, almost commitment, confidence that they've had to get to that level within the organization, they can suddenly start to feel like that's slipping or it's become disconnected. So I get brought in to work with them on a one-to-one basis at that level or at that time. And then
so let me ask you a couple of other questions about that then. So somebody here in the States wanted to work with you. Are these folks that you're working with, because of your background, are they primarily coming out of an athletic background, or are you working with just any more senior level GM, director, VP, SVP level?
That's it. Anybody, because even when I've been working in the sporting space, as I say, I still do at least one day a week now where I work with these elite athletes. It's always been person first. So whether they be playing in front of 80,000 fans on a Saturday in a Premier League football match, or they are the CEO of a large pharmaceutical global organization, My approach to them is always to work with them, the person first, and then work from there. So them identify their strengths, their approaches, their techniques, things like their mindset, their emotions, their behaviors, and then think about the challenges, the obstacles, what's getting in their way of them either being able to fulfill the skill set that they know they have, use the abilities they have, or just generally, sometimes it's around confidence in their abilities. That's become disconnected because of challenges or issues that they've been facing. So
it's some of the ones that we've talked about in some of our prior conversations. So how do these people come to you? Does an individual seek you out, or does like an HR department of a organization ask you to come alongside some of their leaders? How does that work?
So that's the joy, I suppose, of the position that I hold, is that it comes through a variety of different ways. I'm very fortunate to have existing relationships with larger training and leadership development organizations that are able to then work with me as an associate. So I get work through their existing relationships with larger organizations and companies. And then similarly, I also have the opportunity whereby either through word of mouth or through networking, organizations such as HR professionals may hear about me or connect with me in some way. They may see me at a professional speaking engagement, for example, and hear me speak about the executive coaching that I offer or leadership development that I offer. And then they will then say, as an afterward conversation, Sam, how would you feel about becoming part of our external coaching pool? Or I've got a senior leader that I think could be really valuable for you to connect with. Do you mind if I share your details? And also, Andy, it still happens even now, a few years in, now that I've built up more of a brand on things like Instagram, LinkedIn, having a YouTube channel. Sometimes leaders find me themselves and they choose to invest in the coaching sessions away from the organization. So it really does come in a variety of different pathways, the introductions and the projects that I get to work on.
And if I wanted to work with you, if I found you on YouTube and realized with some of the things he's saying, I think can help me where I'm at, am I signing up for life? Am I signing up for 3 months? What's the typical process when you're working with an individual on leadership blockages?
So that would always be a very sort of individual approach. So what I would first and foremost do is I would reach out to you, Andy. Sorry, I would respond to you reaching out to me, Andy, and say, let's just jump on a call. And it could be a very brief, for example, initial 30-minute chemistry call where you and I would connect virtually if we were able to physically. Meet together and just have a discussion about where you felt you were at, what it is that you feel you were maybe being affected by or challenged by, and what it was that you felt you needed. Because I'm very aware that although I feel like I've got a lot of expertise and a lot of brilliant experience, I might not be the right fit for everybody. And so by having that sort of non-pressurized initial chemistry call, it gives me an opportunity to really connect to the individual, learn more about where they're at, and think if I'm going to be a good fit for them as a coach or a leader developer, or if actually they're going to be best suited to explore with somebody else, maybe receiving programs or packages from them. And then only once I then get into that space am I then able to think about what it is that they would benefit from. And some, it might be very close sessions together. So it might be a package of 3 or 4 sessions delivered over a 4 to 8 week window. So very sharp, very consistent work, because there may
going
be
at one specific or 2 specific
absolutely
blockages.
One very specific hurdle, challenge, something that's really getting in the way. There may be a deadline on it, for example, that they have to work towards, so we can work in a closer position way. Others, it's much longer term. So some clients, some coaching clients that I work with now, I'm in the sort of 24 to 36 sessions with them. That is because we've been working on a longer period of time. They may engage with me on a monthly basis or bi-monthly basis, but they're working with me for a longer leadership journey because of the holistic support that I'm able to offer them, rather than just the targeted that I deliver with other leaders too.
Good, good. And then I know the other part that you and I've talked about is you really also have expanded into doing work inside organizations where it's overall leadership development. Talk to us about that a little bit.
I think that's a really lovely development that's happened quite naturally and organically, is that a senior leader that I was working with in one large organization said, look, I like what you do for me, Sam, and I want to keep it confidential and just between us. But I think my senior leadership team could benefit from having some sessions with you to think how they can maybe either not just develop themselves, but more importantly, develop the people that they have as their direct reports. And so what I now get to do, which offers, as I say, that alternative lens, is I'm often then brought in to work with leadership teams, leaders that have got multiple people reporting into them. And I very much go in and get them shaping their thinking about how they're managing their people or leading their people. Are they getting the best out of them? Things like communication between them and the dynamic that plays out in those leadership positions. And so sorry.
You would deliver some of this in like a workshop setting or individual diagnostic tools, or what? How would you work with, if I had a team of 10 people that I wanted to have you impact, what would that look like?
So initially, it would be to ask you what the overall outcome would you wanted to achieve. So sometimes people say, Sam, could you just do a one-off workshop on building confidence within their people? So they've got hundreds of reports. There's a big body of people that sits beneath this leadership team. We're identifying that confidence is an issue right now, or resilience is an issue right now, post-COVID. Can you come in and speak to these 10 leaders about how they can integrate tools and techniques to boost the confidence of the people below them? That could be a one-off example of how it's worked previously, Andy. Others will say things such as, I want you to structure ongoing leadership development workshops, masterclasses, sort of seminars, whereby I will go in on a consistent basis and we will deal with the challenges of the day. So we'll create an agenda a few days before. They'll identify their people problems or their people issues, and then I will then go into that space with some preparation, but ultimately adjust the session to what they need it to be, with that focus on them as the leader and being the very best leader that they can be.
Okay. And I know you and I first got acquainted at a speakers conference a number of months ago now, and that was pretty impressive. You also do some big room investing in people in more of the traditional motivational leadership from a platform. Talk to us about that as we start to wrap up our time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Andy, for the question, because that again frames, I suppose, two styles of speaking that I deliver. One style has been large organizations approach me and say, Sam, with your background and your experience, we want you to come into this sales meeting or this kickoff meeting or this conference that we're running. And we want you to do a 1-hour talk on elite performance or mindset of elite performers. And they give me the title or topic to talk to their people. It's an addressed issue or need that they know they have. The opposite is now starting to happen, which is great. This is happening and growing organically, is people are saying that they want me to come in and deliver the keynote and deliver my message, what I think is of value. And that's what I've been working. I know when we met in Dublin last October at the Global Speakers Summit, that was very much what we were talking about in our initial conversations, is developing my message. And I'm pleased to say that that's now being completed. I'm out there now talking about putting PER into performance. It's the 3 core principles I believe that must be in place for an individual to either build up elite performance or be able to maintain elite performance. And it breaks it down into the 3 lenses or focuses of preparation, execution, and then reflection. And so that's now a product or package, I suppose, that I'm now taking out on the platform or on the keynote speaking stage to talk to organizations as well. And that could be leaders within the organization, or it could be a more wider, bigger conversation to more members of the organization, are putting those core principles out and getting to think about their performance levels too.
Okay. All right. Well, and I will tell those of us that are listening in, Sam, those of you who know anything about rugby, Sam was the guy at the very bottom inside that scrum trying to get the ball out to his teammates. So his ability to handle crowds and pressure in crowds, I think, is probably one of his great strengths. And Sam, just even in the time that I've known you, it's so obvious to me your ability to connect with leaders about really the tension of leadership comes from your own life of being an elite athlete and having to work as part of a sports organization your entire adolescent and into your early adulthood, as well as your obviously impressive professional training. So sounds like you're having a real impact for the organizations that you work with. It's just been a pleasure to come alongside you and work with you, Sam.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for creating this opportunity and this developing friendship that we have, Andy. I've really enjoyed all of the conversations we shared, and I really appreciate the way you put those questions to me today. Some of them have really made me think and reflect on how I work with leaders in the different styles and approaches that I take. So yeah, a huge thank you from me, and let's wrap up there, and we'll speak again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Andy. Take care. Bye-bye.